Goodness. First, I want to say good morning to all of my listening audience. And I'm just so excited about my guest that I'm going to have today. Bill Stierle and I, we had been faculty together at an amazing business conference called CEO Space, which was rated the fifth top business forum in the world by Forbes. And I was sharing with Bill how there were so many of us that were faculty. It was Bill Stierle and I, and Hugh Ballou, and Lisa Nichols, Les Brown, Mark Victor Hansen, just so many speakers from all over the world that so often we didn't get to experience each other while we were teaching and speaking there at the conference. So today you are going to be able to be blown away by my very special guest. But I got so excited that I didn't start to mention some of the other things that I need to make an announcement. Remember, if you have questions about grants, the nonprofit arena, or whatever, every first Friday, I do a free Q&A session. And if you would like to be a part of that, go to my website at philanthropyalliance.org, philanthropyalliance.org. And you are listening to the new WCEG network on WCEG Watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG network. I'm Sherita Herring, your show host of Beverly Hills to Barnyard for the next 30 minutes. See, I just got so excited about Bill coming on that I forgot about my regular announcement stuff. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like WCG on Facebook, follow on Twitter or Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG network. And then last but not least, the topics and opinions on those of the show hosts and guests are not from the WCEG network. Thank you for your continued support from your WCEG network. So now, back to my very special guest. Let me read you his bio. Bill is an international communication specialist and high conflict mediator with 37 years of experience supporting people to create great relationships and daily moments of peace. His training provides participants practical experience and tools with real-time daily communication, from casual conversation to difficult challenges and conflicts. An author of multiple books, Bill has trained thousands of individuals and organizations in communication and thinking styles. People who work with Bill gain the ability to reduce volatile interactions and respond effectively in all situations. See more about Bill at www.billstierle, and Bill's last name is spelled Stierle. So billstierle.com. Bill, thank you for coming on with me.
Rita, happy to be here. It's so delighted to see your smiling face and just start to reboot those wonderful memories of working with you at CEO Space and be able to connect and contribute to all the participants that came to those conferences in both the entrepreneurial way and for nonprofits to be able to energize themselves and to really make a difference in the world. So happy to be here and get a chance to share with you some wisdom, knowledge, and experience that both of us have went through. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, like this.
Oh
when
my!
I saw it, I had to get it. So when I see you, when I come to California, I'm going to get it signed.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Thank you for getting my book. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. So, you know what? I've got some things that I want to talk about that I've been reading in the book. But first, I want to talk about my very first experience in being in one of your training sessions. And you asked us about colors. We answered questions about colors that we like, and didn't realize that all of those things told us stories about ourselves. And you had us go to different corners based on our colors.
Right.
That.
Absolutely. Communication comes through three different avenues. And the first avenue has to do with our thinking communication. And what I had people do is stand into four corners of the room, based on what their first thinking and communication strength was. So if you're like an engineer, then you're standing in the blue quadrant and you're going to speak in a brief, concise way with facts and information. Where if you're a social worker, you're holding the red card and you're standing opposite of that, or to the catty corner to that. And you're really more of an interpersonal thinker, or you're communicating more about connection. That's different. Engineering and social worker is different. See, she's holding a, and all the nonprofit folks are over there in the red quadrant, by the way, because they're trying to contribute to others is one of the primary focuses. Whereas an artist is holding the yellow card, or an entrepreneur or a marketing person is holding the yellow card, which is holistic, big picture, 3 to 5 year plans. They're looking to the future, which is a part of your strength too, which is opposite of the person in the organizer, the green quadrant, that holds operational thinking and implementation thinking, the ability to get things done and implement things with a to-do list, which is very, very different. So standing in those four corners, it's really important to communicate with each other and then to listen, which one of the four questions that are being asked. So the blue card is asking a what question, and the red card is asking a who question. That's different. The yellow card is asking a why question, and the green card is asking a how question. How do I do it? Step by step unfolding of the topic. Now, notice just in the few minutes there, the audience, so the people that are listening right now, are starting to get a mental framework of, oh, there are four questions. What a surprise. Oh, there are four different thinkers. Wow, isn't that interesting? Boy, there's four different people and four different groups of folks. Gosh, I wonder where I am on this. So imagine what it would be like to leverage a company's strength or your individual strength based on, gosh, I think like this. I probably should be over here in this other spot here, or that other person that's doing that shouldn't bother me as much because they're just bringing a different point of view.
Right.
I mean, that's
even relationship, Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm standing over here in this nonprofit, me wanting to be the making a difference in community and using my artistic side and thinking freely, but I have a spouse that is that intellectual thinker, that engineer.
Right.
Your teaching can even be amazing for couples. I mean, parents and how they may have conflicts with their child, because even though that child is from that parent might be that intellectual thinker and that child is that artist.
Right. I really am enjoying this, because while at that conference, one mother came up to me and says, she's holding the yellow card, and she goes, I've been trying to make my yellow kid be a green kid. They're never going to be a green kid, are they? No, they're really not. And then she started accepting your daughter from where she was. And the daughter teared up. She's going like, oh my gosh, now you understand me. It's sort of like, so you're going to stop changing me? Yeah, I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah. I'm going to kind of take you where you are, Yeah. So
I'm trying to kind of turn my camera. That sun is coming in my window, and
isn't that interesting? That's right. Well,
that is God.
Divine radiance, baby. On us. Divine radiance coming out there, speaking to us.
Yes.
It's good luck.
Bill, in your book, one of the things that I highlight that I wanted to talk about, and you talked about reframing tragic language. And I just wanted a little bit of something that says, nobody can make us feel anything. It all depends on how we take it. Diffusing trigger words and phrasing every time.
Oof. Boy, I really appreciate you pulling that quote, because a lot of times there's time, Sherita, there's time, and this is important for the listener, is when somebody says something out of their mouth, think of it as like a vibration that is coming in. It's about ready to kind of like hit our shoulder. And then when it does, it's like all of a sudden, they just said that thing. Well, what happens if we just caught it in the middle and then reframed it back to them, no matter what word or phrase they said? What happens if we just slow down or stop the process? Or if we do get hit, maybe just take a moment and say, gosh, I really feel irritated. That doesn't meet my need for kindness. Now, all of a sudden, I just dissipated it with one sentence. I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I have the ability to control how I take it, but also if I do get affected by it, I can name it for what it just did. I can name it for how I got affected. And one of the things I concentrated on in this book was take the word or phrase and learn how to either reframe it, or if we get affected by it, to be able to bring it to ourselves and say, yeah, I do feel frustrated. I would have liked some more support from so-and-so. God, I feel aggravated because I wasn't being heard fully from that person. And they just started talking, on top of it. And they said, oh, this is my strategy and my, so this is one way that we can actually just take the time to look at the things we say and the way we're thinking about things and do some language shifting so we're not affected, or we can become more empowered when somebody brings some tragic language.
You know what, Bill, this is so perfect, because my show now is about empowering people, no matter from where they're from. It's not just the nonprofit arena. I have small business owners, moms. There are women that follow me that are starting to retire. They're like, I'll be 64 in November, and they're like my age, and they're like, Sherita, what am I going to do when I no longer have my title? What am I going to do with my husband, who we haven't spent this much time together in 30 years now? We both are going to be retired. Well, I feel like I want to run and hide in the house. And so this is such great conversation. But you know what else this just made me think of? I ran for office in Los Angeles. I ran for city council back in 2011, 2012. And if nothing else, what I learned from running for office is you don't have to answer that question or respond right now.
No.
Before running for office, see, politicians learn that early, that I don't have to answer this question, and they'll kind of veer away to something else. But instead of veering away, I just can say, even if I'm in a conversation with someone, it could be a sister, a neighbor, or whatever, and they've said something, I can say, you know what? I don't know how to respond to that right now. Let me get back with you, or I don't have an answer for that. So often we don't have to answer. We don't have to say something right then.
That's a perfect way to think about it, is that we do have the ability to be okay with not knowing. Right. This book adds another tool to that toolbox. What this does is also say you can use an empathetic sentence to what that person said and get the same response that you just got. So you can actually feed them a little bit of empathy and compassion for the difficult sentence. So it sounds like you feel confused and you need some understanding about, why this works this way in the city council. Yeah, I don't have that answer either, but I'm really interested in following up with you on that.
Right.
What the heck?
My mom had a even coarser way of saying it. She said, my nickname is Shuby, and she would say, Shub, just because you have a bullet in the chamber don't mean you have to shoot it.
Absolutely.
You may have something you can say, but you don't have to say it right then. You can hold that. Right. Hey, Bill, what do you think of my mug?
Oh my God, that is a great mug.
This was a gift to me from someone. Now that I'm in a different situation, I wonder, okay, were they giving me this because they felt like I thought I knew everything?
That's right. Oh my God, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. And fitting. I just want to say, I'm with you I'm with the mug, man. It's fitting. That's for sure. Absolutely. You are a natural contributor to the world. And that's one of the greatest needs that you provide, contribution and support for those who want to make a difference.
Oh,
that's a part of your mission. That's a part of what you do, man. You
know what? It has been, you made me think about also how long I have been the person that I am, even though I wasn't thinking about it. Because after leaving your class and thinking about all of the layers of who I am, even in high school, Bill, I didn't know in high school that I was even going to go into radio, but here I am. But in high school, I was in the program, I forget what it was called, but it was teaching us on how to speak and communications for radio and television. Wow. I didn't know that I was going to be teaching grant writing and working in the community, but in school, I was the lead of the committee that raised dollars for our school programs, that helped helped us to do outreach to the community. I mean, if we think back in the patterns of our life, we've been showing up on who we are all of our life.
Right.
And when we
Right.
can tap into that, Bill, and this is where you're going to help my audience,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
it will
Absolutely.
make life so much more juicy, so much sweeter. So,
So much.
Bill,
Yes.
what are some of the ways that people can connect with you?
Well, the ways they can connect with me, obviously it's through my website, through billstierle.com.
Mhm.
And in there, when you go to that site, you'll see the book, The Emotional Sobriety Solution. That is the kind of like an easiest entrance to why do people think the way they do? Why do people behave the way they do? As
Mhm.
well as a discussion about how to reduce beliefs and our reactivity.
Mhm.
And through the website is my contact information. People can call me on the phone and say, I have an emergency. I need support now, because as a person that works with conflict and reducing conflict, I kind of have some answers right away for people. And that
Mhm.
phone number is 310-433-8380.
Great,
Text,
great, great,
call
great.
right away. If you got a conflict that you're sitting with, why are you holding it? Bring it out to the world and say, if there is a fresh perspective, if I can get around this. And it does. And even the size of the conflict, even I flew to Flint, Michigan during the water crisis and trained people how to deal with conflict. Why? Because there was conflict there.
Yes, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because I was going to ask if someone wants to bring you in as a trainer, or do you do
Right.
even virtual trainings? Because I was thinking of a substance abuse program, women's substance abuse program here that I work with continuously with Dana Davin Ward and
Yes.
Harbor Home for Women, and they
Happy
do
to do it.
amazing work. And
Wonderful.
so often, what's behind the substance abuse are things, Bill, that you could help with, and
That's right.
to
That's right. And
connect
I
you.
worked 4 years in that space. So I know that space pretty good, because this is, and even some of the stuff inside this book, many of the things in this side of the books will help reduce trauma patterns,
Mhm.
as well as get used to how there's both the physical trauma that the person went through, but also the storytelling that reinvigorates the trauma that needs to be rewritten, not
Mm.
to ignore the old story, but to give a story that is not so physiological impacting, because that's
Ah,
what our words and phrases do, is they create molecules of emotion. If you
yeah.
think junky thoughts, you kind of get junky chemicals, you do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Bill, and there's a grant. Yeah, me saying there's a grant for that. There are grants that will purchase your book for you to give to facilities. So,
Interesting.
like that. And I'd like to talk to you about that. So, for instance, like before you get on with um, Dana Ward and Pastor Ward and the Harbor Home Women, for instance, you could send 20 books, and
Oh,
grants will cover those costs, so that they have your book. They've already just soaked in who you are, and
right.
when you're speaking, they
Right.
just feel you even more. I got something else I want to read out of here. It says, please help me understand my pain. When
Great sentence.
someone is overloaded with the molecules of emotion that cause life diminishing feelings, they can become frozen in their ability to reason and respond in creative, useful ways. They are in pain, and they are bewildered as to how to find their way out of it.
Yes, that's right. Well, I
Talk
really appreciate that, because the brain does this. It's like, and I'm pointing at the four quadrants of my brain right now: emotion, lower right, and habit, lower left, always wins over logic and future thinking, upper left and upper right. Our
Hey, Bill,
hab-
before you go further, those are actual.
yeah. So it's a way to metaphorically think about how the biochemistry works. Emotion and habit, usually around safety or trauma, always wins over logic and future thinking, upper right, upper right, upper left. And the way to think about this is a New Year's resolution. Our upper left brain and our upper right brain say the following sentence: my New Year's resolution is to lose 10 pounds in the month of January. Our limbic brain, the back part of our brain, says Before you even get out of the kitchen, it puts the cookie right in our mouth and say, oh, well, I'll start tomorrow. The emotion and the habit always wins
Ah,
over that logic and the future thinking. I
well,
want to have a
that makes me
healthier
feel better.
life.
That makes
What's
me
that?
feel better. See, there's something that's fighting against it here. So
Yes. Yeah. And I am so glad you said our brain is fighting against each other. Instead of language wise, it needs to be integrated. So instead, when I look at the cookie, because there's a microsecond there before it gets in my mouth, you know what? I'm going to take the need for health right now. I'm going to put this cookie back here. I'm going to do health for 30 days. I'm looking at health. Every time I look at food, I'm looking at health. What's going to meet my need for health? Instead of my need for comfort, which many times people eat food for comfort. They don't eat it for health. They eat food for taste. They don't eat it for health. Notice all of a sudden your brain's going like, oh, there's
oh my God, you should collaborate. You should collaborate with Jenny Craig or somebody. I mean,
see?
yeah, I mean, you're amazing.
See, there it is. There's another avenue for me to hang out in. And that's the power of how do we language things, because we're trying to get our heart, the molecules of our heart and the molecules of emotion, our gut, to really work with the language structure that we've been given, instead of being reactive or responsive. And that's why this sentence, emotion and habit always wins over logic and future thinking, is so powerful. Unless our language is integrated, then these things are just reacting back and forth with each other.
So we're really at battle with ourselves a lot of times.
Yes.
And you made that so much clearer, that even you can stop and pause and say, okay, really, what am I thinking with right now? And, how do I counteract this? Or how do I make this turn into the real direction that I need to go?
Right.
Most of the time, it's just clarity that will help us to just move forward. Bill, I love you. I'd ask you to marry me if you weren't already married.
moments of awareness right there, huh? Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Good fun.
Now, again, Bill, how can my audience reach you?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. On my website, I have some articles to download. They most certainly can do that way. They can be able to take a look inside the book. There's some QR codes that they can download some very important information, so they can interact that way. Obviously, through my phone number, through my contact information that we're putting here. And by golly, let's have the conversation that's needed to get better language, to be able to really use the molecules of emotion for what they're designed for. They're designed to be indicators only.
And I got to show this, Bill. I mean, you've got just some really good stuff in this book. I mean, feeling words. I mean, your book has so much to it that oftentimes you won't find in a book, that just helps people to really connect with themselves. And you guys, you've got to get a taste of him. I mean, he's unbelievable.
I really spent time with every single word in this book. Why? Because a word creates the context. But what happens is the context sits like a little bit above, but the subtext, the need, the feeling that's underneath that, what we would like to see in the world, is really what our heart is trying to say. Our heart's trying to say, hey, I would like deeper connection. I would like the need for belonging. I'd really like the need for community to take place. I'd really like the spirit of collaboration to take place. I need some support around this. Now, notice how even as I'm speaking right now, our physiologies are resonating with the words that are most important in your world of nonprofit, of contribution, of service to others, and balancing that service with financial security, balance that service with growth and contribution. I mean, what a better way to go, because we're using language that is called power with language, instead of the language we've been taught, which is called power over language. And I really do a good job of separating those two things. So those tragic words are power over language. And we got to be able to convert those words into power with language. And then it goes a lot better. in our conversations. So
Bill, in either my last show or one of my previous shows, I was talking about a study where they've done all of these surveys and the top regrets that people have, and three of them that really that were the top three that I wanted to kind of run across you. One is regretting allowing emotions to guide impulsive decisions,
right.
regretting wanting everything in life to change, regretting hurting loved ones. I mean, all of what you're talking about, those regrets would go out the window.
They would go out to the window, and it's a way to gently shift. And the reason why is our habit brain kind of takes over, and our emotional brain kind of takes over, and it starts just doing things that are familiar and safe instead of doing
Mhm.
things that are optimal, or things that we'd like to have an extraordinary experience and go like, I need to get one of those things in. Feelings are only indicators is very important. It's like human beings are trying to drive a car by staring at the dashboard and the oil light and the gauges. They're not looking through the windshield of their life. They're
Mm.
looking at the dashboard going like, oh, I might not do this. I might feel this way, or I might feel this, where the other person's feeling this way. They're staring at the darn dashboard instead of just glancing at the dashboard. Yeah, I happen to feel this way this time. Yeah, that person happens to feel this way. Instead of they're going like, oh my God, I don't want any lights to come on.
Yeah,
No, the lights are going to come on sometime,
yeah.
because things aren't going to go well, and you're not going to get everything, and you're going to have to change the oil, and you're going to change the radiator fluid, and the windshield wiper fluid needs servicing too, and the check engine light needs to take care of. But don't stare at the thing. And that's what emotions do, is they
And we
get
have to
us
know that that's just the warning of it.
just
It's
the
time to
warning
do
of it.
something about it.
Holy water, just saying it's like the world's not going to end because the oil light came on.
Yes,
Go, and it tells you where to drive. It's like, hey, I need to drive this. Somebody's got to help me with this, or I got to help myself with this, or I got
yes.
to figure out how I can get financial security, get somebody else to pay for this, because I need some support right now because my oil light just happens to be on. So I can start driving my car and look through the windshield, look at the mountains, look at the trees, look at the fall leaves changing. That's the life part of it.
Yes. Well, Bill, we are coming to the close of the show already.
Already.
And I want to give my audience more of you. Can I ask you to come back for a part two?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. There's so many things in the book that we could talk about. It. My gosh.
Mhm.
Everything, the monster person, nice dead person. We can do that. Or how to get off the gerbil wheel of emotions. We can do
Ah,
that.
teasers, teasers, teasers.
Teasers. Ah,
Guys, if you want to get Bill's book before we have the show, this is, and look at that cover. I mean, it lets you know the four colors that he's working with.
yeah,
And Bill, I would love to have you back. I want to thank
absolutely.
you again for coming on the show. I love you dearly. I'm
Yes.
so thankful to Bernie Dorman and CEO Space for making sure that people like us met and during that time with CEO Space, we were able to impact so many lives like
What a
you
wonderful.
impacting me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I can't wait to talk to you about the thing you mentioned about the grant for the books. I think it's a wonderful idea to get it to move
Absolutely.
out to the world, because this is really
Absolutely.
things. All right.
Thank you,
All
Bill.
right, more
See
to
you
come.
next time in part two.
That's right. All right, take care.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Are you excited about what has gone on with my very special guest, Bill Stierle? And for those of you, if you're in California, he's there. He can come live. So again, this has been Sherita Herring with Beverly Hills to Barnyard. And I hope that you enjoyed today's show. Come and join me every Wednesday. Also, go to my website at philanthropyalliance.org. Click on Get Connected. It pops up as soon as you get there to get all the different information that I may be sending out about grants, like I mentioned to Bill, and just a lot of other really good information. And I'm going to be launching my fundraising campaign really soon, like later today. So stay tuned even on my Facebook so that you can find out, why am I raising dollars? Because we're developing a youth camp and women's retreats and all kinds of good stuff to further make a difference in people's lives. Thank you for joining me today and my very special guest again, Mr. Bill Stierle. Have a wonderful Wednesday.